Somewhere between your bedroom and the kitchen this morning, your brain may have experienced a silent stroke warning without you ever knowing it. And if you're over 60, this happens more often than you think. Let me show you how to stop it, starting tomorrow.
It started just like any other morning. Margaret swung her legs out of bed, stood up quickly, like she always did, and walked toward the kitchen, thinking about whether to make eggs or oatmeal. Her husband was already up, the smell of toast in the air. Everything felt familiar, safe, until it didn't. 10 steps in, she paused. Something was off. Her right arm felt heavy. Her words got tangled in the mouth, and within seconds, she dropped to the floor, confused, scared, and unable to speak. By the time the ambulance arrived, her symptoms had mostly faded. She could walk, she could talk. She was even making jokes in the ER. But as her doctor, I wasn't laughing, because I knew what had happened. Margaret had just survived a mini stroke, a transient ischemic attack, a warning shot from her brain. And what shocked me most wasn't the event itself, it was when it happened. Just minutes after waking up, right in the middle of her normal, peaceful morning routine. Now, I want you to imagine this. You wake up tomorrow morning. The house is quiet. You make your way to the bathroom, then the kitchen. It's the same routine you've done for years. But what if I told you that your brain in those first 60 minutes is walking through a storm? A storm you can't see, can't hear, and usually don't feel until it's too late. This physiological storm is triggered not by stress or illness, but by habits you think are completely harmless. Things like standing up too quickly, drinking coffee before water, holding your bladder while scrolling the news, eating a breakfast that quietly overloads your blood vessels. Individually, these things may seem small, but stack them together at a time when your heart rate is adjusting, your blood is thick, and your brain is starving for oxygen, and what you've created is a perfect internal storm. The truth is, your brain is most vulnerable, not in the afternoon, not during exercise, not in moments of panic, but in the calm, quiet hour right after you open your eyes. And you don't have to feel anything wrong for something to be wrong. Margaret didn't. She was healthy, active, sharp. She did yoga 3 times a week, took her meds on time, ate well, slept enough. But like millions of people over 60, she was unknowingly walking through this storm every single morning. Until one day, the wind finally knocked her down. The good news? That storm isn't inevitable. Because just like weather, it can be prepared for. And sometimes, it can completely be avoided. That's what this story is really about. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to take you inside Margaret's routine. Not to scare you, but to show you how small changes can bring calm to the chaos your body faces each morning. You'll learn what I call the stroke-safe morning, a simple, science-backed routine I now teach to every patient over 60. And it starts by recognizing that what you do in the first hour of the day can either protect your brain or quietly push it toward danger. But first, let's go back to Margaret. Because the first thing she did that morning seemed innocent. She just got out of bed too fast. And that's where the storm began.
When Margaret came to my office for a follow-up, she still looked shaken. Not from the mini stroke itself. She'd recovered beautifully. Her speech was clear, her gait steady. What haunted her was the timing. I wasn't even out of my pajamas, she told me. How could something so serious happen when I hadn't done anything yet? That's exactly what I wanted her to understand. Because by the time her toast popped and her second cup of coffee was half finished, The storm had already passed through. So I asked her to do something simple. Walk me through your morning, I said. Not just the big things, every tiny step, like I'm following you around the house. She smiled, a little embarrassed, and began. I wake up around 6:30. I sit up and stand right away. I head to the bathroom, splash my face, then go make coffee. While it brews, I check email on my phone. I drink a full cup before I eat, usually oatmeal or a protein muffin. After breakfast, I take my meds with the second cup. Then I scroll the news for a few minutes and shower. It sounded ordinary, predictable, exactly like the morning routine of someone doing their best. But as I listened, I didn't hear routine. I heard 7 pressure systems colliding, each one triggering a new surge inside her already vulnerable body. Think of it this way. Standing up fast, that's like sudden wind slamming into fragile windows. Coffee before water, like dumping fuel on already crackling tension. Flavored oatmeal and toast, that's heavy sodium pulling the blood vessels tighter. No food before caffeine, that's a hormonal lightning bolt. Holding her bladder while reading news, pressure building behind already aging pipes. Slurred speech that cleared up, that was thunder, unmistakable, dangerous, and ignored. The more I listened, the clearer it became. Margaret's brain hadn't been struck by lightning that morning. It had been walking through a silent storm every morning for years, until finally, one spark set it off. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Margaret is not the exception. Her story is the rule. Because almost every senior I've treated in my career has a similar morning pattern, built with good intentions, but designed by decades-old habits that no longer serve a changing body. So I made Margaret a deal. Let's not overhaul your life. Let's just rewire your first 60 minutes. We started small, one habit at a time, and within just a few days, she reported something remarkable. I feel clearer in the mornings, she said, like the fog finally lifts. That's when I knew this wasn't about fear. It was about control and hope and peace. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through the same storm system, step by step. We'll look at what's triggering it, why it matters more after 60, and how to reset your body's rhythm so your brain isn't fighting the wind every time the sun rises. Let's start with the first gust of pressure in Margaret's morning, that moment when her feet hit the floor. It might seem small, but it's the moment when the storm begins.
Margaret used to think of herself as a get-up-and-go kind of person. No snooze button, no lingering in bed. The moment her eyes opened, she was on her feet. It makes me feel productive, she told me, like I'm not wasting time. But what she didn't realize was that this habit, meant to give her a head start, was actually hitting her brain with the first gust of pressure in a dangerous chain reaction. Let's break it down. When you sleep, your body enters a low power mode. Blood pressure drops, heart rate slows, blood flow redistributes, mostly settling in your lower body. Your brain, while still active, uses less oxygen. And then your alarm goes off. You sit up, stand, start walking. But here's the problem. Your body hasn't caught up yet. That sudden shift from lying to standing causes a temporary drop in blood pressure, sometimes 20 mmHg or more, especially in older adults. It's called orthostatic hypotension. And for about 10 to 15 seconds, your brain doesn't get enough oxygen. You might feel it as a head rush, dizziness, tunnel vision, wobbly knees, or nothing at all. Just a vague sense of being off. But your brain feels it every time. And if your blood vessels are already stiff,
If your heart is already working harder in the morning, that little head rush isn't just uncomfortable, it's a warning shot. Margaret admitted she'd felt that dizzy sway before, but always brushed it off. Just got up too fast, she'd say. She wasn't alone. Nearly 1 in 3 seniors experience orthostatic hypotension, and most never mention it to their doctors. But here's what changed the game for Margaret. I taught her something simple, the 90-second wake-up rule. She started doing it the next morning, and the one after that, and the one after that. Here's how it works. 1. Take 10 deep, slow breaths before you move. Oxygen first. Calm the system. 2. Spend 20 seconds moving your ankles and wrists in bed. Get circulation flowing. 3. Sit up slowly. Stay seated for 20 seconds. Let your blood pressure adjust. 4. Place your feet flat on the ground. Stay there for 40 seconds. Only stand when you feel steady. That's 90 seconds total. But what it gives you back is balance, stability, and calm. Margaret told me within a week, the dizziness was gone. What she thought was just age was her brain quietly pleading for patience. Here's what I tell every patient over 60. Don't measure your health by how fast you can move. Measure it by how well your brain feels when you do. The storm doesn't always start with thunder. Sometimes it starts with a single gust, the moment your feet hit the floor. So tomorrow morning, I want you to treat that moment like sacred ground. Slow down. Let your body catch up to your mind. Because the second wave of the storm is coming fast. It's hot, dark, smells amazing, and most of us reach for it without even thinking twice. Let's step into the kitchen.
Even after slowing down her wake-up routine, Margaret still clung to one comforting ritual: coffee. Black, strong, no sugar, no cream. "It's my little moment," she said. "It makes me feel awake again." And I get it. There's something almost sacred about that first sip in the morning. The warmth, the aroma, the quiet. But here's the problem. That sacred ritual might be tossing gasoline on the early morning storm that's already rumbling inside your body. You see, when you wake up, your body isn't just adjusting from sleep. It's already dehydrated by about 1% on average. You've gone 7 to 8 hours without fluids. Your blood is thicker, your circulation slower. Your heart is pushing harder to get oxygen where it needs to go. Now imagine adding caffeine into that environment before drinking a single drop of water. Caffeine is a natural vasoconstrictor. It tightens blood vessels and triggers adrenaline release, pushing your blood pressure even higher. And if your blood is already thick from overnight fluid loss, you've just gone from gentle morning fog to a sudden internal windstorm. That's what was happening to David. He's 71, retired accountant, healthy weight, walks daily. But every morning, about 10 minutes after his first cup of coffee, he felt his heart flutter like a bird trapped in his chest. At first, he thought it was anxiety, then maybe a heart rhythm problem. We ran tests. Heart? Fine. Blood sugar? Good. But his hydration levels were way down. What we realized was that David's morning cup of joe, his wake-up call, was being poured into a dry system. His body wasn't ready, and it was reacting the only way it knew: panic mode. So here's what I told both David and Margaret. Before you caffeinate, you hydrate. 1 8-ounce glass of room temperature water. That's all it takes to start softening the storm. Not cold water, not carbonated, just plain room temp water. And if you want to go further, add a pinch of sea salt or a few drops of lemon juice. That helps the body absorb the fluid faster and replenish electrolytes lost overnight. David started doing it, so did Margaret, and within days, both of them noticed a shift. No more fluttering, no more tightness, no more brain fog. They didn't stop drinking coffee, they just gave their body what it needed first. Because the truth is, caffeine isn't evil, but timing is everything. Especially when you're over 60, when your blood vessels are less elastic and your nervous system more sensitive to sudden chemical shifts. And while water may not give you that kick coffee does, it gives your brain something much more valuable in the morning: safety. So tomorrow, before you pour that first mug, ask yourself, is my body ready for this, or am I handing it a match during a windstorm? Start with water. Then, sip your coffee with calm. But Margaret's storm wasn't over yet, because while her coffee routine was now safer, what she ate alongside it was setting off the next wave, one she never saw coming. Let's head to her breakfast table.
Margaret had always been proud of her breakfast. She called it simple and healthy. A bowl of instant oatmeal, cinnamon flavored, a slice of whole grain toast, half a banana, sometimes a protein muffin if she was feeling hungry. She wasn't reaching for donuts or bacon. She wasn't pouring sugary cereal into a bowl. She was doing what health blogs, diet books, and food labels told her to do. But when we sat down and calculated the sodium load of that seemingly innocent meal, her eyes widened. Flavored instant oatmeal, 250 milligrams. Whole grain toast, another 200 milligrams. Protein muffin, easily 200 to 300 milligrams. That's up to 700 milligrams of sodium, all before 8 a.m. And that's the quiet part no one talks about. See, sodium isn't just in chips or canned soup. It hides in foods marketed as clean, heart-healthy, fitness fuel. And for the aging brain, those small amounts add up fast. Let me introduce you to Sarah. She's 73, sharp, stylish, and religious about checking her blood pressure. Every morning, she took her readings 30 minutes after breakfast. And every morning, they were 140 over 90 or higher, even though her evening readings were totally normal. She thought it was stress, maybe poor sleep, until we unpacked her breakfast. Instant oats, peanut butter toast, a green juice that was secretly loaded with sodium-rich celery extract. Total, over 650 milligrams of sodium. We made 2 swaps, flavored oats to plain rolled oats with fresh blueberries, toast to half a boiled sweet potato or a banana, peanut butter to crushed walnuts. Within a week, her morning blood pressure dropped by 18 points. She said, "I didn't even realize my healthy choices were hurting me." And that's the point. It's not about eating bad food. It's about eating the wrong foods at the wrong time. When you first wake up, your blood vessels are still stiff. Your body is still adjusting from the slow pace of sleep. Flooding your system with sodium during that fragile hour amplifies pressure where your brain is most vulnerable, the microscopic vessels that feed memory, balance, and clarity. Now add that pressure to dehydration, caffeine, orthostatic shifts, and you've got a perfect physiological storm, with breakfast as the unexpected trigger. So here's the guideline I gave Margaret and now give every patient over 60. Keep sodium under 300 milligrams before 9 a.m. Build breakfast with a 2-to-1 ratio of fruits and veggies to grains and proteins. Stick to whole ingredients, the kind that don't need a barcode. Easy swaps? Rolled oats instead of instant. Hard-boiled egg with sliced avocado. Banana with a few unsalted almonds.
steamed spinach with turmeric and olive oil. Margaret made these changes. At first, she missed the cinnamon flavor, but we added fresh apple slices and a pinch of real cinnamon. She said it was even better. And what changed wasn't just her blood pressure. It was her mental sharpness. She said, "I feel less foggy by 9 o'clock, like my brain has space to think again." That's the power of removing pressure from your morning. But pressure doesn't only come from food or caffeine. Sometimes it comes from within your own body, quietly building as you ignore a signal you think can wait. And for Margaret, that signal was waiting just a few feet down the hall. After adjusting her breakfast, Margaret told me she felt lighter in the mornings, more clear-headed, more stable. But one habit still lingered. She laughed when she admitted it. "Sometimes I just stay in bed and scroll for a bit," she said, "even if I need to use the bathroom." To her, it felt relaxing. A few quiet minutes to check the news or see what her grandkids posted. But what she didn't realize was that while she was lying there, calm on the outside, her body was entering the next wave of internal pressure, one that started not in her brain or heart, but in her bladder. Here's what most people never think about. When your bladder is full, it activates a stretch response. That stretch triggers signals to the brain to say, "Hey, time to go." But if you ignore that signal, the bladder wall contracts harder. And that sets off your sympathetic nervous system, the same one responsible for the fight or flight response. What does that mean in real terms? Increased heart rate, elevated blood pressure, tighter blood vessels, and more strain on an already vulnerable system, especially first thing in the morning. Your body interprets bladder pressure as a form of internal stress, and when layered on top of dehydration, caffeine, and elevated sodium, it becomes the next gust in your morning storm. Frank, a 68-year-old patient of mine, had been waking up with pounding heartbeats every morning. No caffeine yet, no stress, just boom, boom, boom in his chest the moment he stood up. It turned out Frank, like Margaret, liked to linger in bed scrolling headlines while needing to pee. We changed two things. He set a reminder on his phone to head to the bathroom within 5 minutes of waking up. And he limited fluids after 8 p.m. and spoke with his urologist about adjusting the timing of his diuretic. The result? No more morning heart pounding. No more pressure in his chest. Just a calm, steady start. It sounds so simple, because it is. But this is the pattern we keep seeing. Seemingly harmless habits layered on top of each other, becoming a storm that wears down the brain, the heart, and the vascular system over time. So here's what I recommend. When you wake up, listen to your bladder first, not your phone. If you're scrolling with a full bladder, you're putting pressure on your nervous system without even realizing it. If you're waking to pee more than twice a night, talk to your doctor. You may need to adjust medication timing or check for prostate issues. Margaret made the change. She now heads to the bathroom right after her 90-second wake-up routine, then hydrates, then coffee, then breakfast. And that one small change, she said it gave her a strange sense of calm she hadn't felt in years. Sometimes it's not the big symptoms that matter. It's the tiny habits we do on autopilot, the ones that push us an inch closer to a moment we never saw coming. So now you've seen the whole storm. The rushed standing, the dry coffee, the salty breakfast, the ignored signals. But we're not ending with fear. We're ending with a map. Because Margaret didn't just fix her mornings. She followed a step-by-step routine that brought the calm back and gave her brain the breathing room it needed. Let me walk you through it.
By the time I finished walking Margaret through all 7 habits, she looked at me and said something I'll never forget. No one ever told me mornings were dangerous. She wasn't scared, just surprised. Because, like most of us, she'd always thought of mornings as harmless, slow, gentle, predictable. But what we'd uncovered together was a hidden storm, a pattern of small, well-meaning habits stacking together into a pressure system her aging body could no longer handle. And the best part? She could change it. She didn't need a new prescription. She didn't need to overhaul her entire life. She just needed a routine that worked with her biology, not against it. I call it the stroke-safe morning routine, and I want to walk you through it now. Not as a checklist, but as a gentle rhythm, a way to bring calm back into your first hour, so your brain doesn't have to fight its way into the day. Here it is, step by step. Step 1. Prep the night before. Lay out what you'll need in the morning: a glass of water, any medications, a light breakfast ingredient like oats or fruit. This removes decision-making from a foggy brain and sets the tone before the sun even rises. Step 2. Follow the 90-second rule when you wake up. Start your day in bed. 10 slow, deep breaths. 20 seconds of ankle and wrist circles. 20 seconds sitting upright on the edge of the bed. 40 seconds with feet on the floor before standing. Total time, 90 seconds. Effect, a safer, smoother blood pressure transition that protects your brain from oxygen dips. Step 3. Hydrate before you caffeinate. Drink 8 ounces of room temperature water as your first act of self-care. Want an upgrade? Add a pinch of sea salt or a splash of lemon juice to speed absorption. Then and only then, move on to your coffee, knowing your heart and brain are ready for it. Step 4. Eat a buffer bite before caffeine. A small piece of protein or fat, like a few almonds, half a banana, or a boiled egg, can dramatically reduce caffeine's jarring effects. It helps balance blood sugar, calm adrenaline, and protect your stomach lining too. Step 5. Log your morning symptoms for 7 days. Keep a small notepad. Record anything unusual. Morning dizziness, heart pounding, slurred words, weak grip, numbness, even if it lasts only a minute. These early signals are how your brain asks for help before it screams. That's it. 5 steps. No fancy equipment, no expensive routines, just consistency and attention wrapped in kindness. And you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it better than yesterday. Margaret followed this rhythm for 6 months, and when she returned for her next appointment, she didn't talk about blood pressure or lab results. She said, "I wake up and I don't feel fear anymore. I feel steady. I feel ready." That's what this is really about. Not perfection, not performance, but peace. Because the way you start your day shapes everything that comes after. And when you begin in alignment with your body, not in a rush against it, that's when your brain finally feels safe. So if you've ever felt off, dizzy, foggy, or just not quite you in the morning, maybe it's not age. Maybe it's just the storm and your chance to calm it. Let me show you how to make that shift starting tomorrow.
If even one of these habits felt familiar, if you've ever stood up and felt a head rush, drank coffee on an empty stomach, skipped water, brushed off slurred speech, held your bladder while scrolling the headlines, you're not broken. You're not too late. You're simply living in a body that's asking you to listen. And now, you can. So here's what I want you to do. Don't change everything tomorrow. Just choose one thing. Maybe it's that glass of water, or the 90-second wake up. Maybe it's setting your pills out the night before. Maybe it's simply sharing this video with someone you love. Because the most powerful thing about protecting your brain is that it protects your independence, your memories, and the connection to the people you love most. Margaret did it. Frank did it. David did it. And now, it's your turn. If this video opened your eyes, even just a little, hit that like button so YouTube knows this matters. Comment below with the one habit you're going to change tomorrow. And subscribe to Seniors Wellness Hub for more calm, science-backed strategies to help your body age smarter, not harder. And before you go, share this with someone over 60, a parent, a partner, a friend, because brain protection is not a solo mission. Sometimes the person you help today will be the one who helps you tomorrow. Disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and does not replace medical advice. Always speak with your healthcare provider before making changes to your medication, diet, or routine, especially if you experience symptoms like dizziness, heart palpitations, or changes in speech or grip strength. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, ask yourself, am I rushing into the storm or walking gently into the day? You have more control than you think, and it starts before your feet even touch the floor.